Hi, I'm Dustin Saldarriaga, an immigration lawyer with Scott Legal PC. We're back with the next installment of our video series on the EB-5 visa. Especially since the COVID pandemic, remote work has become more and more common, so it's not surprising that we're sometimes asked whether the EB-5 green card allows remote workers. In this video, we'll dive into that question and take a look at one aspect of the EB-5 in which the location of workers is especially important, and that's the targeted employment area. Before we get started, please take a moment to hit the like and subscribe buttons. By doing so, you'll be the first to know about the most up-to-date options to visit, work, or live in the United States. The EB-5 visa, or green card, is known as a job creation visa. The creation of jobs is at the core of what the EB-5 is all about. The EB-5 does require an investment of at least $1,050,000 into a business in the United States, or $800,000 if the business is located in a targeted employment area. But that investment must then lead to the creation of at least 10 full-time jobs for U.S. workers. If those jobs aren't generated, the visa won't be granted. So let's turn to those workers. What are the requirements for the job to count as one of the 10 needed for the EB-5 green card? We have a separate video that we'll link to below that goes into the details of the EB-5 employment requirement. For now, let's summarize a few of the key requirements. First, the positions must be full-time, which means at least 35 hours a week. Also, the workers must be qualifying workers. These are U.S. citizens or lawful permanent residents, meaning those who have a green card or conditional green card. It can also be asylees and refugees. Those with non-immigrant visas, like an H-1B or a TN, do not qualify. Also, the investor and their spouse and children do not count toward the employment requirement. The business needs to hire outside the EB-5 applicant and their family. Also, the positions cannot be filled by independent contractors. They must be filled by W-2 employees. What about their location? Is there a specific place where the employees need to work, whether at the EB-5 company's headquarters, a warehouse, or some other location? As long as the employee is working from within the United States and receiving a W-2 form, their location doesn't usually matter for purposes of qualifying for an EB-5 visa. That means that remote work is generally allowed under an EB-5 visa. But there's one area in which the location of workers can be very important, and that's if you're applying for an EB-5 visa by investing in a targeted employment area, or a TEA. TEAs, which we cover extensively in a separate video that we'll link to below, are rural areas or areas of high unemployment. In other words, they're the areas that are especially in need of jobs. EB-5 applicants who invest in a TEA are allowed to invest a lower $800,000 amount. They can also have a much faster application process since the government reserves a certain number of EB-5 visas specifically for applicants who invest in TEAs. Now, if you qualify for the lower investment amount by investing in a targeted employment area, you can start to see how remote workers start to complicate the picture. Let's say your headquarters is in a rural area, but the 10 positions you create are filled by remote workers in New York City, Los Angeles, and Chicago. Does the EB-5 enterprise still qualify as being in a targeted employment area? It's a good question, and one that fortunately the government has given guidance on. The policy manual for U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, or USCIS, says that in order to qualify for the lower investment amount, the EB-5 enterprise must principally do business in a targeted employment area. An enterprise principally does business where it regularly, systematically, and continuously provides goods or services that support job creation. USCIS says that it can look at several factors to decide where the enterprise principally does business. These factors can include where the enterprise creates jobs, where the enterprise spends capital that's related to the creation of jobs, where the enterprise's day-to-day operations happen, and where the enterprise's assets that it uses to create jobs are located. When a business has a headquarters and employs all of its employees there, it's not hard to figure out whether the enterprise principally does business in a TEA. When the enterprise employs its workers at a headquarters and a warehouse, both of which are in TEAs, the question is also not too complicated. But once the enterprise starts employing workers in areas that are not TEAs, where will USCIS determine is the location most significantly related to the creation of jobs? As you can tell, it starts getting hard to determine how USCIS is going to feel about whether the enterprise is principally doing business in a TEA once employees start being located outside of the TEA. This issue was on display in a 1998 case called Matter of Izumi, I-Z-Z-U-M-I, which we'll link to below. In Matter of Izumi, the government decided that an EB-5 applicant whose business had transactions and a headquarters outside of a TEA failed to prove that the enterprise principally did business in a TEA. So here's the takeaway. When the EB-5 enterprise uses remote workers, there is some uncertainty as to whether USCIS will look to the location of the remote workers, the location of the enterprise's headquarters, the location of the enterprise's warehouse, or some other location to decide where the EB-5 enterprise principally does business, and if that is within a TEA. So, to be safe for EB-5 projects located within a TEA, it's recommended that the jobs created by the EB-5 enterprise be located in the same area where the enterprise is located, or that at least they be located within a TEA. This can reduce the chances that USCIS will decide that the EB-5 enterprise is ineligible as a TEA project, and therefore ineligible for the lower investment amount. We hope this video about the EB-5 visa was helpful. If it was, please click the like and subscribe buttons to stay updated on future videos about visa options and travel to the US. Thank you for watching.